This video is presented by Western and Southern Financial Group, a game plan for your financial future. Every great team starts with a strong foundation, and your future should too. With life insurance built like a championship roster, Western and Southern helps protect what matters most, so you can focus on winning today while planning for tomorrow. Whether you're just starting your journey, building your dynasty, or ready to retire like a champion, Western and Southern has the right play for your life stage. Visit westernsouthern.com to get your free life insurance quote today. Western and Southern, built to win. All right, let's dive into these fantastic quarterfinal games that we got. Starting off on New Year's Eve in the Cotton Bowl with number 2 Ohio State against number 10 Miami. Again, New Year's Eve, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN. The winner of this game will take on the winner of Georgia and Ole Miss in the semifinals, which would be played at the Fiesta Bowl. The Hurricanes reached the quarterfinals by going on the road and beating number 7 Texas A&M in what probably would be the most thrilling 10-3 game you'll ever see in your entire life. The Buckeyes, meanwhile, of course, skipped the first round of the college football playoff. They finished with a 12-1 record on the season. Their only loss came in the Big Ten title game to the top-ranked team in the country, and that is Indiana, too. So very excited to watch these two teams battle out, Dalton, and it's going to be a great opener to the quarterfinal slate.
A quarterfinal game on New Year's Eve, standalone between two of the most historic programs in college football history, right? The Ohio State Buckeyes against the U. You can't ask for much better than this. And how about Miami coming off, all the controversy surrounding them, even just making the playoff, being the last team in, having to go down to the 12th man at Texas A&M and find a way to win. And that's exactly what they did. They found a way to win a defensive slugfest. And I'll tell you what, if they have their way of designing this game, they probably make this one the same, trying to make that a slugfest and maybe a similar scoring game is how Miami could come out with it.
Yeah, it's only the 5th time ever that Ohio State is playing against Miami. The first time since 2011 that these two teams are playing each other. And also a rematch of that 03 or really 02 national title game that we had. A very controversial national title game, too.
How about it? You don't get to see these two teams on the same field very often. It is going to be a lot of fun.
I can't wait. All right, let's start off with the Ohio State offense first, Dalton. You have the passing game. Julian saying those receivers against what's been an elite Miami pass defense. What should we know in that matchup?
Well, we've been talking about this Miami defensive line all year, and there's no reason to stop now, especially when you talk about these two edge players, Ruben Bain Jr. and Akeem Mesidor. What was it, 18 pressures they combined for against Texas A&M. Obviously, A&M's left tackle Trey Zune said they wouldn't be a problem. They were absolutely a problem. They will continue to be a problem. So you look at, this matchup of Ohio State's offensive line against Miami's defensive line and what they do better than anybody, whether they're blitzing or not, and they do blitz a good amount, they create quick pressure. 2.5 seconds or less is the magic number we use around here. When you talk about that 2.5 second mark is when things go from stable to unstable. And can you disrupt teams' offenses within that 2.5 second window? Miami has the second most pressures and the second most sacks in the FBS in 2.5 seconds or less. So if you're Julian saying, and obviously your process needs to be quick. And your offensive line, and obviously you're going to get some max protections. I think Max Clare and Will Kaczmarek, and I think C.J. Donaldson in the backfield could play a big part with extra protection in this game. But Julian saying in 2.5 seconds or less, the 3rd best passing grade in the country, the 6th highest completion percentage in 2.5 seconds or less in the country, and 8 yards per attempt, a very good mark. So not only has he been accurate, and when he's had time in the pocket, he's been extremely accurate making plays downfield, but when he's had to speed it up and get the ball out before the pass rush can get to him, he's been really, really good. Now, the question is, if Miami can get as much pressure on Sayan as Indiana did in that game, along with the zone coverages they were using to keep things from getting over the top for the most part, is that the point where Miami can keep this passing game in range? Obviously, the secondary we saw can take the football away. We saw it in the A&M game. Bryce Fitzgerald, the true freshman safety, with 2 interceptions, right? They got O.J. Frederick, the starting cornerback, back. You're going to see, obviously, that matchup. And how much, I'm curious, too. They've got the front 4. I'm curious, too, to see how much Miami decides to blitz and leave those one-on-one matchups out there with Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate on the outside for Sayan to work with. Or, like we talked about going into the A&M game, do they let off the gas a little bit And do they play zone coverage and sit back and just make sure things don't get over the top in this Ohio State offense? I think it's a fascinating battle, both schematically and just physically. With these edge defenders, it's going to be so much fun to watch. And whether or not Sayin is protected and can work his process quickly from the pocket is going to be a huge deciding factor in this game.
And I'm looking at the Ohio State run game, and really it's just a simple fact of, can Bo Jackson take enough off of the redshirt freshman quarterback in Julian Sayin in this game? Because obviously Sayin is a fantastic quarterback, still the highest graded quarterback we have in college football, but you want enough of a run game. That way Sayin doesn't have to carry this offense against what's been an elite Miami defense. And Bo Jackson, true freshman running back, man, he has been awesome for the Buckeyes this year. We're kind of picked up right where Quinshon Judkins and Travion Henderson left off last year in Ohio State's backfield. Bo Jackson has over 1,000 rushing yards and nearly 700 yards after contact. Both of those numbers are the best among all Power 4 true freshman players this year. It also helps him that the Buckeyes right now are 7th in run blocking grade with a 75.9 run blocking grade as a unit. There's not a lot of east or west in Ohio State's run scheme either. They run inside zone or some kind of gap scheme 74% of the time. But Miami's defensive line has been one of the best in college football this year at getting after the quarterback, and they're also outstanding in run defense this year too. 93.1 team run defense grade. That's 11th in the country. And on inside zone or gap runs, which Ohio State, again, runs 74% of the time, the Hurricanes are 16th in the country in successful play rate allowed. And Dalton, there are only 2 defenses in the country this year on Ohio State's schedule that held the Buckeyes to fewer than 24 points. It was Indiana and it was Texas. And Ohio State scored actually a combined 24 points in those 2 games. Those 2 games were also the only 2 games where Ohio State did not rush for at least 100 yards in there too. So if Miami's front 7 can bring their hard hats and slow down Bo Jackson in this Ohio State run game and force the Buckeyes into obvious passing downs where that defensive line can pin their ears back and just get after Julian Sayin, this could cause problems for Ohio State, and Miami could have a road at pulling off an upset. But if Bo Jackson provides enough as a runner, it's going to be great out there. It's enough as a runner for Ohio State. That'll take a lot of the pressure off of Julian Sayin and those receivers.
Ohio State with balance is unstoppable. Ohio State with balance in the run game, I think, is still the best team in the country. They did not have that, like you mentioned, in the Indiana game, and they struggled to score on Texas because they didn't have that balance. You're right, Bo Jackson is going to have to break tackles. If he can get to the second level, big if with this defensive line, then you're talking about a real two-dimensional situation here for Ohio State's offense. Want to mention as well, Miami in the playoff game against Texas A&M. Texas A&M's running backs, 18 carries, 50 yards. Shut it down in the run game. Marcel Reed, the quarterback, was really the big rushing threat for Texas A&M. That's not going to be the case with Julian Sayin. He very rarely takes off to run, and he's certainly not a part of the design run game. So Miami's first goal, you're right, for as much as Smith and Tate are the biggest threats on this team in the passing game, it's going to be about making them one-dimensional and getting them to do what you want them to do. If you can put any team, even with their weapons against this defense, in 3rd and long, you make Julian Sayin beat you make him beat the pass rush, then you're talking about a situation where Miami can stay in this game. If they can stop the run on early downs, that'll be big for them.
Let's go over to the Miami run game right now, and a guy, Dalton, Mark Fletcher, who was the hero, I would say, for Miami's offense in that win over Texas A&M. What should we know in that matchup against Ohio State's elite run D?
Certainly was, and the idea was that they got those double teams going up front, those big duo run schemes where they double up on both defensive tackles, and they get Mark Fletcher up on the second level, and he's breaking tackles, a big back, right? He's just running through contact. He's making it happen in a north and south fashion. The difference in this game, where you had outlined in the past how Texas A&M's defensive line, other than Albert Regis, and he suffered the injury in that game, really not as stout in the middle between the tackles. They rely a lot on those linebackers. Now, Ohio State has great linebackers in Arvell Reese and Sonny Styles, but my focus here is on this offensive line versus Ohio State's defensive line. Miami's offensive line, 15th in run blocking grade, 25th in impact run block percentage. They are moving people off the ball. Ohio State's D-line all year in run defense, a brick wall. When you look at especially the guy I'm looking at right here is Caden McDonald, big number 98 in the middle. That guy's a brick wall between the tackles, and he makes everybody around him better. Ohio State's defensive line, best run D grade in the country, highest positively graded play rate in the country. It's McDonald. Caden Curry's been great off the edge. Kenyatta Jackson on the other edge. It's really, to me, it's McDonald especially. When you talk about, you're going to see matchups somewhere in this game of Inez Cooper and Francis Mauanoa, especially on that right side, trying to double up on Caden McDonald, and that's going to be an absolute battle. There might be no better defensive tackle to take on double teams in the country right now than him. That's the guy I'm looking for. And then how much space can he clear? How often can Miami get to the second level and get hands on Arvell Reese and Sonny Styles? That's going to be key. If those two guys, and they're really good at shedding blocks too, especially Styles, if those two guys are running free at the second level because Ohio State's defensive tackles are occupying double teams well, I think Miami could have a problem. But it's that first level to me. You have to find a way to break through it and give Fletcher a chance on the second level like he had on those duo runs in the first game against A&M.
I mean, Caden McDonald right now, 92.2 run defense grade. That's easily the best of any D tackle in the country. It's actually almost 3 points higher than any other D tackle. Dalton, he's like an okay pass rusher, doesn't really add much as a pass rusher, but Caden McDonald is going to be a first-round pick most likely because of how dominant he is in the middle of that Ohio State defense.
He changes the game. When you think about guys in the NFL, I think about the impact in his prime that a DJ Reader has had. I think about Trevor and I on the NFL show were just talking about Jordan Davis and the value he brings to the Philadelphia Eagles. When you can occupy blockers, especially double teams, without getting the linebackers walled off on the second level, when you can do that, you make everybody else's life so much easier. His impact on this defense cannot be overstated. Again, Ohio State as a unit, their defensive line is the highest graded defensive line in run defense in college football. McDonald is a huge, huge reason for that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, I have the Miami passing game against Ohio State. This should not be a shock to anyone. We're going to talk about here. It's about Carson Beck, and can Ohio State find a way to pressure Carson Beck? Because it's been really, really difficult for teams to pressure Carson Beck. You can see right here how good he is from a clean pocket and when he's not blitzed, and how much he's struggled when he's pressured or is blitzed right now. You see 84 PFF grade when kept clean. That's cut in half to a 42 under pressure, which is 112th in the country. When he's not blitzed, 84.3, 18th in the country. When he's blitzed, also like when he's pressured, he's 112th in the country with a 60 PFF grade. Now, it hasn't been that big of an issue for Miami this year because they have been outstanding at protecting Carson Beck this year. 86.8 team pass blocking grade is third in the country, and Carson Beck protects himself too. 2.33 second average time to throw is the third fastest in the entire country. You combine an elite offensive line with a quarterback who gets rid of that football at a very, very fast average, and right now you get a 16% pressure rate by Miami allowed this year. For reference, no other school in America is below 21%. So Miami's offense has the best pressure rate allowed in the country by about 5% right now. On the rare occasion where he is pressured, though, his production has dipped, as you saw on the screen right there. Ohio State has been great at getting after the quarterback this year with a 40% pressure rate, despite only blitzing at the 72nd highest rate in the country. So Ohio State is 8th in the country in pressure rate and only 72nd in blitz rate. And on throws within 2.5 seconds, the Buckeyes are 19th in pressure rate too. So they do a great job of getting after quarterbacks very, very quickly. I think we could see defensive coordinator Matt Patricia dial up the blitzes a little bit more than we've seen so far from the Buckeyes this year.
Three guys I think about with regard to this, and the blitzing is a great point. I'll start there with Matt Patricia, the defensive coordinator. Is he going to blitz? Is he going to try to rush Beck even further? Or is he going to sit back and make Beck sit in the pocket? From there, if he's going to blitz, the guy I think about first and foremost is Arvell Reese, right? He can blitz from anywhere. He can just get off the edge, and they go with a five-man rush. How is Matt Patricia going to use Arvell Reese? And if he sits Reese back in coverage more often, then the guy that I look at, I think the quietest borderline elite pass rusher that we have not talked about enough this season, How about the year Caden Curry's
had, unreal,
off the edge, man. He's got a 90.1 pass rush grade, leads his team with 12 sacks. That's somebody, especially on that front side, if he's going against Francis Mauanoa, that's going to be a really fun matchup and a chance for Curry to prove that he is one of the most legitimate, best edge rushers in the country. Those are the three guys I look at. Find on obvious passing situations where Arvell Reese is at any given point. Find Caden Curry on the defensive line, see if he wins those one-on-one matchups. And then Matt Patricia, and I think the chess match between him and Carson Beck, and as always, the chess match between a quarterback and Caleb Downs back there at safety, it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. We've seen it times, too, where Patricia sits back and just disguises coverages in order to make the quarterback hold the football, make him uncomfortable. We know, if there's one thing we do know about Carson Beck, okay, and we've watched him for a long time, he wants to get rid of the football. Right? And that could be, obviously, the screen game is going to play a factor. The RPO game is going to play a factor. But the entire idea is that he wants to distribute and get rid of the football quickly. How does Ohio State counteract that? Do they sit back and make him hold it longer? Or do they send extra pressure, I think, especially with Reese from that linebacker spot?
So Carson Beck, when he's kept clean, average time to throw, 2.15 seconds. That's blazing fast. When he's under pressure, Dalton, 3.37.
And it's interesting how they could go about it, because against Indiana, and I think they had some success with this, man-to-man, press-man coverage. Do you want to go about it like that and go, we think our DBs are better. We're going to make you either hold the football or throw it into tight man-to-man windows? Or do you disguise things and make him diagnose post-snap, which can often take a half a second longer, which can be the difference, right? And then it comes down to who's winning the battle in the trenches, right? It's such a fun matchup, especially with a veteran third-year starter like Carson Beck against Patricia and all the really high IQ players, especially Caleb Downs on this Ohio State defense. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
I can't wait to watch it. By the way, let's go back to the Ohio State offense for just a second, because there was some news today, Dalton, that Ryan Day will be calling plays in the playoff, not Brian Hartline's kind of taking that off of Hartline's plays, kind of juggles being obviously the offensive coordinator for Ohio State and also the future head coach at USF too. So head coach Ryan Day will be Ohio State's play caller in the playoff and not Brian Hartline.
Interesting. He hasn't called plays in 2 years, correct? As he had Hartline this year and Chip Kelly all of last year. So an interesting dynamic going into this. His first game calling plays this year against this defense. Boy, oh boy, it's going to be fun to watch.
Well, hey, Ryan Day's a brilliant offensive mind too, so I can't wait to see what he's got planned for that Miami defense. Dalton, ultimately, who will win this New Year's quarterfinal game, and who will move on to the Final Four in the college football playoff semifinals?
Very well could see a slugfest, and the more of a low-scoring defensive slugfest it is, I think the more that plays into Miami's hands a bit. My problem in this game is I look at the four units on the field, and I see, especially from what we saw last week, a game that they won 10-3, and some of us would argue they should have only won 6-3, whatever, situationally. But either way, it was a struggle. Yeah. It was a struggle offensively, aside from the 10 duo carries that they had with Mark Fletcher, which are going to be tougher in this game. How does Miami create explosive plays? I just wonder if they're going to run out of answers here. And I love Malachi Toney. He struggled a bit, and that got the winning touchdown, but for the most part, he struggled in that game to really create explosive plays outside of the punt return, which could be a factor as well. I think Miami's going to have a hard time scoring, and I think this could be a slugfest early on, but I think eventually Ohio State does run away with it, because I don't know how Miami is going to create enough explosive plays to really threaten the Buckeyes, especially on the back end of their defense. I'm going big. I'm taking Ohio State 27-10.
Wow, almost doubled up the spread right there. Okay.
I'm not particularly – Mark Fletcher had a great game, don't get me wrong, and the offensive line did what they needed to. But I'm worried about this Miami offense. And we've seen spurts of this year where one of two things happens. One, the explosiveness is just not quite there, especially they need somebody other than Toney at wide receiver to step up. Because if all eyes are constantly on Malachi Toney and nobody else really steps up to make a big play on the outside, they're going to have a problem. And Matt Patricia knows. I think he knows as well as Mike Elko did in the first game. You take Toney away, you really took the whole passing game away. Beck only had 100 yards in that game. That's a big problem for me. Somebody else has to step up. Miami's going to have a hard time winning this game 10-3 again. If they do it, more power to them, but this Ohio State unit's a different animal on defense, too, even from a really good A&M unit.
I would agree with that. I think if Miami's going to win this game, it's going to have to be like how Indiana beat Ohio State, which is 13-10, because you see Ohio State still, even though they lost to Indiana, they have still not allowed 17 points in any game this year. I don't think Miami's crossing that threshold right there. I have it closer. I do have Miami covering. I have it 21-14. I do think this Miami defense is going to give Ohio State a lot of issues. I think that defensive line, man, is ferocious coaches. We saw what they did to Marcel Reed. I think they could have some success too against Ohio State's offensive line. We saw, Julian Sayin, when he was bothered in the pocket by Indiana, he still was solid out there, but by no means was he, the highest graded quarterback in the country like he's been all year. So I do think Miami's defense will keep them in this game. But like Dalton said, I just don't think they'll score enough points to truly take down the Buckeyes in this one. So again, 21-14, I've got Ohio State over Miami.
Everyone's got takes. Numbers have truth. And the truth is, most people are betting with emotion. Sportsbooks feed on it. TikTok gurus sell it. The hype machine runs on it. That's how you lose. PFF is different. You're betting with winning data. The same data trusted by all 32 NFL teams and the sharpest minds in the game. PFF betting tools take every prop, every matchup, every angle, and run them through our custom models. Built on the best football data in the world. What comes back is your edge. Simple, sharp, and built to win. Want to go deeper? PFF puts a pro-level analytics department in your hands, giving you the same insights teams use to find every advantage. Build your game plan with matchup analysis. Project every snap, every matchup, and every edge before kickoff. Because the smartest plays start long before Sunday. Hit rates show how a player performs against their prop and against defenses built the same way. It's the data that gives you real confidence in every pick. Next, Key Insights translates PFF data into the story behind every matchup, giving you the why that powers your bets. From coverage schemes to defensive looks, it's the context that turns raw numbers into winning decisions. When you're ready to take action, filter through every prop on the market and focus on the opportunities that matter, by game, matchup, or value. Then, shop for the best available line in your area and tap your book of choice to place the bet instantly. Everyone's got takes, but now you've got truth. Bet with data, win with PFF.